From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In this recording, we go over the breaking news as a vote is set in the recon. Here we go. This incredible recon that will pay you on average about $15,000 across all these incredible clusters of checks. The House deal done. And that means the vote will be coming in this coming week. Wow, we'll go over the incredible countdown to this big final vote in the House. That vote is set, and Nancy Pelosi confirms it in breaking news statements today. CBO report not going to be finished in time for the vote. Not a problem, because the programs in are going to pay you a lot of money. Programs across the board that pay you about $15,000. I have all the incredible details in this recording. Then we turn to student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven across the board. And then we turn to that COLA raise, that exciting details of that money as well, coming right after that with this stimulus. I have all these incredible details as we go into a big, bold, beautiful afternoon. I'm excited you're here. It's a big day with a vote happening, and here we go. We are heading to the finish line on the House. Away we go with an incredible recon win. This is LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day and hope the weather is good where you are. Here we go. Programs that'll pay you about $15,000 across all these incredible clusters of checks are going for a final vote this coming week. Are you ready? Get your pen and paper out, because we're going to go over the incredible money. Even if a CBO report is not done, we will have the vote, the confirmation, and the deal confirmed by Nancy Pelosi going into this afternoon's broadcast. I'm excited for you across the board. Here we go to the finish line on the House. Student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven. I have all those details and more. And then fifth stimulus. We're going to go over the importance of fifth stimulus in view of the new inflation numbers released. Those details and more in my commentary about the situation coming up in the second half of this video. Stay with me. It's a big, bold, beautiful broadcast. And this, my friends, is LALATE, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America. Live in the morning, taped in the afternoons. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto, and then a big, bold, beautiful evening's LALATE at 5 o'clock. Once you're there, I'm going to be looking for you, so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record, and 140 million views in a year and a half. There's a reason. You're not going to see the breadth of this coverage anywhere across financial news channels. One chooses to cover stocks, one chooses to cover the economy. I choose to cover this subject, and I'm glad you found me. Like this video and consider becoming a member. Let's go over this incredible recon starting right now. But first, a roadmap of this incredible jam-packed breaking news recording today. We're going to first go over these incredible clusters, not one, but three of them. The three add-ons. Then after the commercial break, we're going to go back over the big deal done by Nancy Pelosi that signals that there will be a vote next week. She confirms the details. And then we're going to go over each of these checks one at a time, answering some of your questions, which you sent me on private message overnight. We got a big broadcast recording, and it starts right now with these incredible clusters of checks that'll pay you on average about $15,000 across all these incredible clusters. 3 weeks ago, approximately, a House subcommittee passed a beautiful recon. $3.5 trillion reduced now to about $2 trillion, but those clusters are separated across three, with several add-ons, with lots of different checks and lots of different programs. And those programs collectively mirror what we did under third stimulus. Under third stimulus, as soon as it became law, I told you I can get you about $15,000. But under third stimulus, which came in January this year, I got the average view of this channel, $45,000. Many viewers over $120,000. Still getting that money. I'm going to cover it later in this video. But now with fourth stimulus, you're going to get on average about $15,000 across all these incredible clusters. Here is the overview of those clusters starting right now. If I say front-end check, it means it's a check that comes right to your hands. Back-end check means you have to do something for it, like buy a car, then you get a tax credit for it. Here we go. First cluster, everything survived that House subcommittee and is going for a House floor vote. Hazard pay. This is that earned income tax credit, one more year back end. $4,000 of elder care front end, $4,000 of young children's care front end. Then they got the Pell's grant for my college students, a $550 front end check if you're currently on Pell's. Wow, incredible. Then if you live in a low income community, there will be free money to repair the homes. How does it work? Stay with me. It's coming up later in this video as we go over the details of all these checks. The CTC, the child tax credit, done one more year, $3,600 or $3,000 based upon the age of the child, low income household. Then big exciting details of $12,500 for the purchase price of your first electric vehicle. Not your first, but an electric vehicle. If you have 20 of them, you can get another one. There you go. All of the details of that back end check coming up later in this video. But the first add-on has been one of the big successes of this recon. It has been one of the most talked about provisions of this recon that makes so many viewers so excited. It is the Maxine Waters provision that provides you money for the purchase price of your first home. This is front end. During the transaction, right before the close of escrow, the federal government give money to the seller in your name on your behalf. She wanted $25,000 check. She didn't get that, but she got a number slightly lower. We're going to go over the details of how to get that later in this video, so stay with me. Let's go to the second add-on. Let's go to the second clusters of checks. We got more home repairs in the second clusters, front end. We got paid leave and family leave, front end. We got household tax credit, back end. We got pre-kindergarten checks for 1 year, front end. The community college and out, and then weatherizing your home. You definitely need to weatherize because of the holiday season. And you never know in the holiday season when Mitch McConnell will show up dressed as a lobster. Say you need to weatherize the house quickly. Don't let him in. Don't let him claw his way in. Otherwise, he'll get battered. There we go. That is the second cluster's checks. Let's look at that second add-on. And it got in there. Huge win for Bob Casey, the wonderful senator from Pennsylvania. He won at $250 billion. He got a little bit less. It is for free home health care for my seniors and my people on disabilities. Not a check, but a covered benefit. We're going to see that word on this channel as well. When I say covered benefit, it's not actually a check, but it's something they'll give it to you for free. Let's go to the third add-on of checks. The third cluster of checks. Here we go. You ready? I'm excited. I'm ramped up. We are rocking and rolling because so many of these checks are still in there. We got in this third cluster the following checks. Free school meals for all. That is a benefit, but also a front-end check when they're not in school. Cheaper prescription. That is a benefit. Immigration reform, a benefit. Farmers don't know. The internet, free internet, don't know. Workers' protection, don't know. And the Medicare expansion, a mixture of benefits and front-end checks. Let's go over the details of it first. They have gotten in the Medicare expansion across the 12 holdout states. That's a benefit. It's coming up later in this video. I'll explain the details. The hearing aid, likely a check for it in the mail, voucher, that is a front-end check. But the other provisions, going over on the Senate side, being taken care of in the Senate, not the House. And those are dropping the eligibility age of Medicare, the dental and the vision checks as well. Wow. Which tees us up beautifully for the third add-on, MSC, which stands for monthly or multiple IRS stimulus checks. It's important to understand that it's coming to you at issue when we look at the Senate. Over the last few months, we've always said senators are key for the addition of that MSC, not in the House bill. And the addition on the Senate side comes as the senators have been the focal points of your advocacy phone calls over the last few months. And thousands of viewers have been told by those 6 senators they're going to add at least one stimulus check, if not more, on the Senate side. And who are they? The 2 C's, the 2 W's, and the 2 S's. Break up your week and make a date for yourself, a date for yourself to call the 2 C's on one day, the 2 W's on another day, and the 2 S's on a third day. They are Coons, Casey, Sanders, Schumer, Warren, and Wyden, and advocate for that inclusion of that MSC. What you're going to see in the second half of this video is that when we're looking at this issue of the Senate has a lot of work to do in this recon. And with that, a lot of work, that provisions that are missing include this one. And they can add it in on the Senate side. 2 places they can add it. Vote-A-Rama or Senate Subcommittee. Vote-A-Rama is a great place to add an MSC, as covered on this channel for several months. Why? Because senators traditionally add big, breaking new things during the Vote-A-Rama. It's a 2-day process at the very end of the entire reconciliation process, in which senators introduce new ideas, new bodies of law, new provisions. It happened on the third stimulus when Liz Warren and Chuck Schumer said, we're going to have some student loan debt forgiven this year. But there's a problem, because if it's forgiven, students have to pay taxes, lots of it, $10,000 out of their pocket. They don't have that money. So Liz and Chuck got the forgiveness of student loan debt, a provision added by Votorama in third stimulus, and it became law. Well, they can do that same with MSC. They can also do it in the Senate subcommittee. You're going to see in the second half of this video, the legislators say they have a lot of stuff to add to this recon. And that a lot of stuff to add to the recon could include sending this as well. Where do they do those add-ons? Subcommittee. Subcommittee, where they send the House bill into subcommittee and say, you know what, you're missing A, B, C, D, E. We're going to start adding it. That is why your advocacy is so important. Let's read that incredible message of advocacy from the number one legislator in that recon on the Senate side. His chief of staff says the following. They now have in total between congressional senators' offices received more contacts of advocacy from the LA Purple Power than the number of signatures in the American petition. Now they have a better understanding of what Americans are going through to make it through this pandemic. They have heartbreaking stories, and they're the voice of people across the nation, and you, LA, as you have been too loud to be ignored. Please continue your continued advocacy as a professional voice of the people you have become, and continue to advocate until this becomes law. You know, there's a certain question that I'm getting, which I'm now sort of on air realizing what the question is really cueing. People say, how come you don't talk about MSC anymore? I talk about it in every video. But then I realize what they want is that they want to hear the update. This person called Chuck, and Chuck said this. This person called Liz Warren, and this person said this. It's important for me not to always make that recording of this person called and heard that. Because you know what it had become? It had become just a self-validation of the process and a reason not to advocate. If you heard someone else call up and got great news, then you don't want to advocate because you heard great news from someone else. No. You need to presume it's always bad news. You need to presume that it could be in today, it could be out tomorrow. So it's important for me not to run 55 quotes of people saying, I picked up the phone and Liz said that, I picked up the phone and Chuck said this, because those quotes were a month ago. Those quotes were a week ago. And you're going to see in the second half of this video that legislators are trying to take out stuff that was added last week. It is that fluid a situation. So I don't want you to feel comfortable that someone heard something 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago. I want you to advocate, because that is what the scope of the advocacy it is. It's not donut. When is it landing in my bank account? When is it landing? When is it coming? No, you need to pick up the phone and advocate, because we have had the conversations with Sanders, Schumer, Warren, Wyden, and Coons saying that they would insert it. But that's no reason for you not to pick up the phone and advocate as well, because the process in the Senate starts next week. Here we go. In the second half of this video, the exciting news is we're going over to the Senate where the big money comes on in, and that Senate is where those add-ons to what is missing on the House side begins. The programs currently pay you about $15,000. In the second half of this video, I'm going to go over all these incredible programs in this recon, but the Senate is going to add a lot more money. And that is why you need to start ramping up your advocacy. The Congressional Budget Office report was supposed to be done by next week, but it's likely not. Not a cause of concern, but Nancy Pelosi confirms the vote is still happening this week. Yes, incredible, great news. The final vote on the House of Representatives will be happening this coming week, and that is because of the incredible deal she got for this incredible recon. We're going to go over that in the second half of this video. We'll be going over to some student loan debt forgiveness across the board. More debt could be forgiven. We'll be looking at that, and then we turn it to the exciting details of this stimulus. The big money at issue, because inflation is out of control. I'll have my analysis and commentary about what's going on with inflation. People said they really appreciate my commentary because I bring it all together. But stay with me. The second half of this video has a lot of breaking news. I'll see you back in 60 seconds as the second half of this video continues on Afternoons LALATE today. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now as a House deal has been done, which means that the vote will be happening this coming week, says Nancy Pelosi. The huge comments from Nancy Pelosi overnight confirms that the vote will be happening on the House of Representatives. We will be done with the recon on the House side next week, even if the Congressional Budget Office report is not done. Those programs will pay you about $15,000 across all these incredible clusters of checks. I'll show you how to get this money. Get that pen and paper ready. Then we turn to student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven across the board. I have the latest details in that as we go into a big second half of this recording. Then we turn over to fifth stimulus and the concern about inflation and why fifth stimulus is the solution with inflation now spiraling higher. I have those details and more and my commentary as we go into a big second half of this video, and I'm excited here. I'm here, and I'm excited you're here, and this is Afternoons LALATE. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers and 140 million views in a year and a half. There's a reason why, because it's the most comprehensive financial news channel in America. Not covering stocks, not covering the economy, but covering you. Like this video and consider becoming a member. Let's go into the big exciting details that are going on starting next week, and it starts right now. Well, the President of the United States and Nancy Pelosi have a big day set for next week, and it is the vote. The vote on the reconciliation bill on the House side. A House deal is done, and that House deal was unearthed last Friday. But Nancy Pelosi was asked about it over the weekend. The deal says that the moderate Democrats will vote in favor of the reconciliation budget bill upon the release of the Congressional Budget Office report, but no later than the week of November 15th. Nancy Pelosi was asked what happens if that Congressional Budget Office report is not available by the week of November 15th. Then what? She says we're still holding the vote. This is what you wanted. There was a little bit of cause concern when I brought the issue up earlier this week when we started to sense the Congressional Budget Office report would not be done by the week of November 15th. So, when found in a climate summit in Scotland, Nancy Pelosi was asked what happens if the CBO report is not available by next week in totality. She said, I don't care. We have our plan that by the week of the November 15th, as indicated in our statement, we will be passing the recon. This comes after an agreement reached by the moderate Democrats, signed and voted on by Representative Gothenheimer, Stephanie Murray, Kathleen Rice, Kurt Schrader, and Ed Case, that they will vote in favor of the recon in its current format, barring no technical changes, as soon as they receive the CBO report, but no later than the week of November 15th. The key part of that sentence is the very end, no later than November 15th, which caused some people to question, before Pelosi had given that clarity, if the vote would happen November 15th, because the Congressional Budget Office report will not be available next week. Nancy says the vote is going on and going forward, and she will get a yes vote from those moderate Democrats without the CBO report actually available. The CBO report is not a backdoor to step out of the voting or to vote against. That's what the moderate Democrats agreed to. It's something just to send over to the Senate when the House bill is passed. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, a nonpartisan organization which has been dispatched to look at the spending provisions and the pay-for provisions of the recon, said we may not be ready next week. We anticipate releasing estimates for individual titles of the recon this week. Other estimates will take longer because they relate to other titles, and we determined we will give you advance notice when we think the whole recon will be available. This week, they released provisions for 4 sections, but those 4 sections are just in the millions of dollars. They're not even in the billions of dollars. So here we go. Programs in and programs out. Well, the great news is that you're going to get a lot of money from this recon. Under third stimulus, as soon as I got a preview of what that third stimulus was potentially going to be in spring of this year, I said I can get you about $15,000 from the third stimulus. As soon as it became law, I said, yeah, maybe $1,400 stimulus check may be exciting, but the big exciting news is third stimulus is going to pay you at least $15,000. The average viewer of this channel has gotten $45,000 from third stimulus and is still getting that money today. Still getting the money. Third stimulus is coming back on this channel. I'll be covering it in the next few days, if not tomorrow. And third stimulus is still paying, but many viewers have gotten over $100,000 from third stimulus. Third stimulus provisions are back on in fourth stimulus. So if you got that money before, you can get another round of it under fourth stimulus. That's why it's at least $15,000. It's very likely you can get a lot more, upwards of $80,000 under fourth stimulus as well. Let's go over all the incredible provisions of this recon, and we're going to start first with paid leave, which is huge for any American worker of any income level and any type of work. Paid leave and family leave is in that recon, and it is huge. What is it? It means you have to stay home from work because of your or a household member's birth of a new child, illness, or death. It does not have to be COVID-related whatsoever. Sprained your ankle, tripped your leg, have the flu, cut your arm. Anything that causes you to stay home from work, you get paid by the federal government. How much? A lot. Under third stimulus is going to be $1,700 a week if you make $80,000 or more per year. $800 a week if you make $35,000 a year. That's probably you. Or if you make $15,000 or more per year, $400 a week. How many weeks did they get into this recon? They got 4 weeks, up to 4 weeks per year. Wow. So 4 times $1,700, yes, that's nearly $5,000 to $6,000. And on the low end, it's over $1,000, almost approaching $2,000. It's a lot of front-end hard cold cash. But the best part of the paid leave is the eligibility. Answer, everyone. Everyone. They did it and they wrote it so that it qualifies for all income levels and all types of workers, W-2 or 1099. So let's say you work as an Uber driver and only make $20,000 a year, you get it. Let's say you work at a department store W-2 and you make $150,000 a year, you get it. The second provision that was added on, I have a big update for you today, and it's the SALT cap. This was added in last week. SALT is wonderful. What is SALT? When you go to prepare your state tax return, you pay state taxes. Then you go over the federal tax return. You can deduct on the federal tax return how much you pay on state taxes. Let's say, for example, you paid $15,000 of state taxes. You go over the federal return. Can you deduct $15,000? No. Under the Trump 2017 tax code, you can only deduct up to $10,000 of state taxes on the federal tax return. So Gothenheimer and the moderate Democrats got this provision in there that allows $72,500 of what you pay in state taxes to be deducted on the federal tax return. It's huge, especially in those big states that have big tax burdens. Breaking news today, however, is the progressive Democrats, certainly believed to be on the Senate side, not the House side, are saying we're going to take this out. This is where things don't look good. This provision doesn't hurt anything among the progressives. This provision looks sort of spiteful to be taken out by progressives. There is nothing wrong about this provision other than to say the federal government's not going to get funded as much money in taxes. But this is a very good provision for big states that have big tax burdens. And for the progressives that are not in states that have big tax burdens, they perhaps cannot relate to the provision. So this is a provision now on the battleground for the Senate, not the House. Breaking news today on this channel. $72,500 are to be deducted on the federal return. They got job training in there, $40 billion. $40 billion of free job training. Now you can learn how to make me some bacon. They got in there Medicaid gap fix. During Obamacare, when they rolled it out, 12 Republican-led governor states refused to pay for it, even though they offered it. So Manchin and myself said that's not fair. You got to get those states to pay for it. So Wildfire Warnock, the senator from Georgia, and Jim Clyburn, the senator from the Carolinas, got the workaround plan, which is to provide years of subsidized private insurance to low-income uninsured people in those states. It's huge. Immigration reform is in the recon. There's no checks for immigrants. Then the housing assistance. Wow. $150 billion of housing assistance is in this recon for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, first-time home buyers, and those home repairs, and also the weatherize your home. Let's slow it down. The average viewer of this channel has gotten $20,000 for rent under third stimulus. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of viewers who have gotten $20,000 for rent. Now, that rent is still paying out. An additional $13 billion went out from Treasury just a few weeks ago for more money for this rent. If you remember this channel, it's in the newsletter. You can read in the newsletter. There is no time or place. Here's a little bit of commentary. There's no time or place for someone to say they need to pass the recon right away, the fourth stimulus recon, because people are being evicted. There is money for rent under third stimulus. You do not want to look forward when the provision is already on the books paying people money right now. So if you're saying something like I'm about to lose my home or about to be evicted because I can't pay the rent, that money is available under third stimulus. You shouldn't be looking forward to fourth stimulus because it just repeats something that's under third stimulus. In fact, I've been giving people money for rent and utilities and mortgage assistance since November of last year. It's been around that long. So get it right now, please. Do not wait to fourth stimulus. But for people who have gotten the money before under third stimulus, gotten 2 or 3 rounds of it, get ready because you'll get another round. There's a series of reports out this week that says rent is going to go up more next year than it's even gone up this year. Big rent inflation this year with rent prices going up a lot. It will go up more next year, which will be a financial burden, and it will make it harder for you to make rent. And that is why this rent, mortgage, and utility assistance in this recon is huge. $47 billion on the third stimulus, this one $150 billion. Next, I've asked viewers, I said to viewers, if you have a very complex, elaborate question, PhD type question, you want me to answer on air, send me the question about the program. We're referring to the programs. And the first one is for weatherizing your home. One person said all type of homes. Yeah, so it's for zones of the United States, and it's not based upon income levels at the moment or the community zone. Then the home repairs, if you live in a low-income community. People have been asking what type of repairs. We'll have to submit a bid. I don't know yet. We're going to look at it. It may presumptively be a grant, like a free cash grant that you can go do certain types of repairs. But we have to see that language. Then the first-time home purchase. A lot of questions about the word first, home, and things like that. First, it's presumed to be your first. I've been getting questions where you bought something as part of a group of people before. Is it your first? It's believed to be your first, but we have to see the language. Home, any type of single-family home is what we presume it will be, but we have to see the language. And then the next question I've been getting, what type of community? It's believed to be all income levels. In-home healthcare, for my seniors and people with disabilities, totally covered, totally free. $550 checks to my college students on the Pell Grant currently. People have been asking, I was previously a Pell recipient. No, it's important to understand that in 2020, we certainly pushed for FPUC retro. And there was even a time in which Nancy Pelosi came out and said, retro, you'll get paid retro. There is nothing in this recon that is retro. So if you're on Pell's grant last year or the year before, it's not going to go back in time and pay you a check of $550. It's for people currently on Pell's grant. So we do not know how currently back it goes. If it goes back, a month or 2 months, let's say you're on Pell's grant at the time of this recording, but at the time of the video that becomes law, we don't know the effective date, but it's certainly not back into 2020. Then the great news is $12,500 for the purchase of an electric vehicle made in a union shop. This is back-end check. And it's big. People have been asking me, hybrid? No, purely electric. Then union shop, what does that mean? It means Ford, GM, Chrysler. So go on their websites, look at the cars, take a look around. Chevy Bolt is one of the cheapest of those cars at $30,000. This is up to $12,500, so it's almost 50% of the price off. Then $65 per month checks for children when not in school for meals, and it's believed to be that'll go all the way through high school. The big success of this recon is the cheaper prescription medication. The cheaper prescription medication starts from that date and go forward. I've been getting questions again in retro about this. Does it pay my medical bills or my older medications? No. Now, the nonprofits do help with that. So lean on the nonprofits. If you remember, you'll get them in the newsletter. But the great news when we look at this money for the medication, it's enormous discounts across the board. I asked viewers on Saturday mornings, LA last Saturday, how much you're paying for insulin if you are a senior on Medicare? Average I was hearing was 500, 700, and 900 from Mark's wife. Well, it'll now be $35. Wow, this is huge. What happened? Over 20 years ago, when Medicare rolled out, the charter language of Medicare said that they could not negotiate with big pharmaceutical companies over the price of medicine. So whatever they wanted to be charged, they got charged, and they had to pay it and then send that price over to you. Well, for 20 years, Big Pharma had 15 paid lobbyists to prevent this from ever changing. They finally had the breakthrough. The breakthrough was Joseph Biden. 2 Wednesdays ago, picked up the phone and called Senator Kristen Sinema from Arizona, said, you got to come on board. You've been holding this up for months. You need to come on board. And she did. This is the biggest achievement of this president in nearly the last 2 months. No one has covered it because the White House has been off message, focusing on climate in Rome and Scotland. This was the message to deliver, because in the middle of an inflationary environment, if you hear your medication is going to go from $1,000 to $35, the moment this becomes law, which could be in the next few days or weeks, that is huge. That is an instant benefit to your wallet, and that is what a message. That's the type of message the White House should have delivered, and they didn't. Ron Wyden said this will be the first time the government does not have its hands tied behind its back. What will happen? About 20 medications right off the board will go into good faith negotiations with Big Pharma, and those prices will be slashed dramatically. It'll be Medicare Part B, Medicare Part D, the most expensive medication like cancer and arthritis and diabetes, and then it'll ramp up to 30 medications by the year 2028. Those medications cannot increase more than the inflation rate as well. Chuck Schumer says, get ready for next year because I'm going to take a bite out of the apple on that one again. He's going to come back and do more. I love it. Scott Peters says this is really good for seniors. It's great for seniors. We have big praises across the board of this big success story. It is a huge success story. One of the things we're going to be looking for next week is a Senate parliamentarian. She has not yet ruled this week on the fate of 2 provisions in the recon. It's likely that decision will come next week. Who is the Senate parliamentarian? The Senate parliamentarian is a government official. She is not partisan, who determines if a provision in the recon does not belong there under the rules of the Senate. The 2 provisions at issue are 1, immigration reform, and 2, paid leave. She previously ruled that immigration reform has to come out, so I think it will come out again, and paid leave is a 50-50. Now, what's important to understand is that the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office report, will be released at some time. And what it's looking at is how much this recon costs and how much it pays for. There was a joint taxation report released by Democrats a week ago that said $500 billion of this recon is not paid for. Is that an issue of concern? Not at the moment, but maybe an issue of concern when we go over to the Senate, when the senators are going to be adding in big provisions across the board. And those big provisions include Bernie's provision, Ron Wyden's provisions. Bernie says it's the best bill since the 1960s, but there's some major gaps. Ron Wyden, the Democratic senator from Oregon, says there's a lot of work to be done. He says there's a significant amount to still be done. Coons, stable now, and Schumer and also Murphy, all senators say get ready for the Senate because we have a lot of programs to add in there. Remember, we're currently at about $15,000 from all these incredible programs, and when we land in the Senate, we'll have more programs that'll pay you more sums of money. Get a pen and paper ready. We're going to go over the programs passing the House of Representatives right now. Here are the programs that will be passed by the Senate, passed by the House in just a few days next week. Universal pre-kindergarten, front-end check, 1 year, 6 million children, great money. Enhanced earned income tax credit, back-end check, essential workers, 1 year, continuing next year. The CTC, the child tax credit, $3,600 or $3,000, 1 year, front-end check next year. Home health care, covered benefit, and that is for my seniors and people on disabilities. The hearing aid, either a check for it or an actual covered benefit. And then all that great housing money, all front end. The rent, the utilities, the mortgage assistance, the fixing up the homes, the first-time home purchases, and the weatherizing your home. The Pell's Grant, $550 checks, and then the $65 per month for the people when not in school for the meals. Bernie Sanders says, get ready for the Senate because we got a lot to do. What is Bernie going to do? He's going to drop the Medicare eligibility age as one of his pushes. Of course, that MSC remains at a pushing point as well. And then the dental and the vision. He says we're the wealthiest country in the globe and we do not have dental and vision. So let's look at those numbers right now. First, Bernie wanted the lower eligibility age of Medicare at about 55. I don't know if he's going to get it. It's currently 65. Bob Casey wanted it at 60. Bernie also wants dental and vision. He wanted dental in there with a 10-year benefits. Too expensive. Then they brought it to 3 years. Too expensive. Full benefits. Then it got to $850 checks, front-end checks. It got removed. So that was the last place it was in the recon with a full check. Then when we turn to the vision, eye exam and a pair of glasses, a pair of frames. The eye exam, $50 at Costco, for example. Pair of glasses, $100. That's what Bernie wants to do. Very simple, send it out, Medicare, done and finished. One person on Mornings LALATE said her frames cost her $350. Yeah, this is not Fendi. This is not Gucci. This is not the House of Gucci, and I'm not Lady Gaga. It's $350 a frame. Yeah, that's not Medicare. That's not Medicare. That's the Champs-Elysees in Paris, part of my French. But yeah, so can they get that in there? Not at $350 a frame, but they can certainly get it $100 a frame. Then the CTC in my notes, I showed $60,000 or less. I showed the housing aid a little bit more. I showed 175, not 150. And the in-home healthcare, I showed a little bit more than some of the notes as well. I have in my commentary the situation coming up in a second, but let's take a detour from Blinken and I over to student loan debt forgiveness. More debt can be forgiven. The president has offered to forgive $10,000 of student loan debt. On top of the disabled debt forgiven, the public servants and the nonprofit servants. The Democrats should take it. $10,000 could be forgiven right during the holidays. How wonderful is that? Take it. COLA raise is a perfect segue into my commentary about inflation. COLA is coming in with a 5.9% increase next year. Starting January 1, you're going to have a 5.9% increase on your benefits checks. If you haven't received that letter from Social Security Administration, don't worry. Everyone's getting it. It's SSI, SSDI, Social Security Railroad benefits, and veterans benefits. The idea of this stimulus is the following, that pre-pandemic, seniors were not being paid enough. You weren't because you were tied to COLA. And COLA didn't go up year after year. And so your benefits were not consistent with how much the cost of living was. Then the pandemic hit. You're still behind. Now we have inflation. You're barely catching up with this 5.9% increase. That is why they want to lift you up one more time. Then apply a new benchmark. The new benchmark is inflation. I've been covering this stimulus and inflation since July of this year. And that is why it's important. Mark sent me a beautiful question, although I covered a lot about a month ago. I haven't said it lately. So let me show you how this works. First, they're going to raise your benefits up 5.9%. Then they'll apply a new benchmark. Then they'll raise your benefits up under fifth stimulus. That'll be on top of this. Then they'll apply the new benchmark in December 2022 of inflation. What's important to remember is that once you step up, you never step down. So if inflation is 3% in December 2022, then the year after that, when they apply the benchmark again, if inflation's 2%, you're going to go up another 2%. All these lifts ups compound themselves. They don't wipe one each other out. And there you go. Meantime, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? Become a member. The link is under the video. And get that incredible newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for members. Features the big money you can get under first, second, and third stimulus. So you can get an average of $45,000 from third stimulus. And then it tees you up for all the information and the knowledge to get ready for fourth stimulus, which brings me into my commentary as we go into the final minutes of this video. Couple things to talk about. One is backward looking and forward looking. I've seen some interesting comments in the last 24 hours, which are very important because I see them repeated. First, some people saying things like people are being thrown out of their apartments. They need to get this fourth stimulus done right away. Hold up a second. Hold up. There is rent aid for people not to be thrown out of their apartments in this country since October of 2020. I have made close to 1,000 videos about rent aid. I had a show on this channel called Rent. There is rent aid where it's actually cash available under third stimulus. The average view of this channel has gotten about $20,000 from rent. Let me show you the rent number on this channel, the rent numbers on this channel. These are people who have gotten rent on this channel. So no one should ever be thinking, I'm going to wait for that fourth stimulus to come around to get a stimulus check to pay my rent? No, you go out and get the rent that's available right now under third stimulus. You either have not listened to the video or you're not focused. And I'm being tough love on this one. I know I may be coming in tough on this one. This makes no sense. You shouldn't be looking forward to something that is not law yet when there is an ungodly sum of money available out there for rent right now. The same thing for utilities. People saying, I can't pay my utility bills. Folks, there's third stimulus utility money available right now. So you should not be looking forward to fourth stimulus for a stimulus check to pay a utility bill when there's utility assistance right now. Same thing for my homeowners. When we talk about mortgage assistance, same thing across the board. And for anyone who says people can't afford the food, that is why there's SNAP. SNAP benefits are going up 25% annually as of October. I have Mark's brother-in-law getting $25,000 a year for SNAP. There is that money for SNAP. That is before we even get to the nonprofits. The nonprofits also help for those monies as well, like mortgage assistance, utilities, and food across the board. So please do not look forward. Do not look into the future. Not saying looking forward like positive. I'm saying looking to the future. Do not look into the future for fourth stimulus to get the money that's available right now under third stimulus. It doesn't make sense. And don't put yourself in financial burden when the money is available right now. This channel is all about cashing checks, which I haven't said in a while. Cash checks, not track checks. Don't want you to be tracking a check on a fourth stimulus if there's checks for you to cash right now. If you've gotten money from third stimulus before, get another round. There's a lot of money to get these additional rounds. Which brings me then to the inflationary comment. The inflationary comment is very telling because I've been covering inflation on this channel since June. And since June, I've been saying that the numbers for inflation coming out of the Federal Reserve and the White House are undervaluing where inflation is going. And the claims from the White House and the Federal Reserve that inflation was going to be transitory, that popular word that means temporary, untrue, that it was going to be a little bit more pervasive. It wasn't going to go on for 10 years, but it was going to be a little bit more pervasive. The Consumer Price Index number released this week showed the worst inflation in 30 years. It should be no surprise to the viewers of this channel because I was saying get ready for big inflation in December. I think in July I had said 7, 8. Then I felt the pressure because everyone was saying 2, 3. I said, okay, maybe 5. I came down in my numbers because I saw so many people like the White House and Jerome Powell saying 2 or 3. I said, okay, 5. But I originally had said 7 or 8. Jeremy Siegel, which I featured on this channel, the Wharton School of Business professor, was saying 20%. It came in at 6.2%. Now let's look at the numbers, which is very important because it's not the 6.2 number that I think there's an issue for us. It's the sub numbers: fuel, energy, used car, new cars, food, and poultry. This is where it's very telling. Fuel oil is up 59% in 1 year. Energy is up 30%. New used cars up 26%. New cars only 9%. Food only up 5%, but it's the meat, poultry, and fish and eggs up 12%. More telling is the issue of stagflation. Stagflation, what does it mean? You're going to hear me and Lisa Brodowitz on Bloomberg. Those are the only people talking about stagflation. Stagflation means is the concern that the cost to live, meaning the consumer goods, the prices have gone up faster than your salary increase on the hourly rate has gone up. So you may be getting more, being paid more at work, or you may be, but the cost of goods are going up faster. And that means that would cause the inflation to time out. That would cause the economy to time out. That would stifle growth. And that is a big concern across the board. What's at issue here is that when you look at fourth and fifth stimulus, you darn well know that there's going to be Republicans that are going to run a fake narrative on this one. There's going to be some Democrats that may run a fake narrative on this one. Why do I say fake narrative? Because a lot of these provisions have nothing to do with helping inflation or hurting inflation. In the case of fifth stimulus, not the case. Fifth stimulus, absolutely about inflation. Fifth stimulus is about my seniors and my people on disabilities. You have been left behind for years before the pandemic because your benefits were not raised up based upon cost of living. You were tied to COLA, and COLA was not going up. So while things cost more, your benefits were not going up. This is clearly an inflationary issue, fifth stimulus. Absolutely, 100%. The part of fourth stimulus that is absolutely about inflation is rent. Because rent inflation is out of control right now. In this 1 year, rent numbers have gone through the roof. Not so much for home prices, but for rent numbers. And they say that rent will go even higher next year. This is why you need the rent aid. When we look at the other provisions in the recon, not necessarily inflation or not inflation, whether it's the home repairs or it's the Pell's grant or it's the car or it's the prescription medication, not necessarily an inflationary play whatsoever. So I don't want anyone to see perhaps a Republican or Democrat on broadcast me this week and say, hey, you know what, maybe yes, maybe no on forced stimulus recon because of inflation. It has nothing to do about inflation. And I even think I saw one of the progressives saying, this is why I have to pass forced stimulus because of inflation. No, it's not that type of legislation. It's not that type of legislation. What's important to understand is that I'm here with you. We're going to stay on top of this inflationary issue for the weeks to come. I've been covering since May, and I'm not going to stop covering it. What's really going to be happening? What's really going to be happening is you're going to see major pressure on the President of the United States to release some of the energy reserves that the President holds, not personally, but the federal government. It is the reserves on fuel. You're going into the winter months, and heating oil prices cannot be up 50%. No one will be able to afford this. It's a trouble. And the way you go to gas pump, and you see the prices have gone up an astronomical amount in just 30 days. You can't endure this much. You can't endure this. So the president has energy reserves. He can release them to bring the price of oil and the price of gas down right away. He can't do a lot about your food and your eggs and your milk other than getting ports and trucks moving along smoother than they are. The backlog of the products will fix itself. It will fix itself by February or March of next year because they're overproducing at the moment. And once they overproduce, that saturation of products will balance against the lack of products. One of the problems is a new number that was released this morning that said there was a record number of people quitting their job in September. There's a lot of people who have a job, the job pays well, and they're quitting the job to grab the other job that pays more money. And it's causing big supply issues because guess what? Let's say you run a bakery and you show up to work one day and the baker's not there. Oh, I quit because I got a better job at a copy store, Xeroxing copies, $3 more per hour. Wait a second, I have no bread to bake. So this causes disruption in that supply chain. The president needs to figure out a solution to this one. This is all up his road. You can't keep on having people quit jobs and then you don't have the jobs filled. It's a very pervasive issue, and it is very, very much the case in the low to middle range jobs. It is not the high paying, huge six-figure jobs. It is the lower. It is the lower income jobs. The president has to figure out a solution to it. Sitting back and watching it is not going to work. So a lot to detail, a lot coming up. Coming up next is Afternoons Crypto. We got a big show. And then we got Evenings LALATE at 5 o'clock. Big changes, news cycle. Stay with me. You know those legislators that come in, they are in town, they are working on the recon. I'm going to have the latest details as well. Then we got shows at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11:30. But our triple programming block of evenings, countdown, and stream stimulus coming up next as well. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful afternoon, and stay with LA for more.